we are a learning institution, right? Was that I learned a great deal. You go into a situation like this, obviously thinking you can do something, obviously thinking that maybe you have something to bring, obviously thinking that, I'm an okay person to do this because, maybe unlike the next guy, I don't have prejudice. And so I can lead. And then you get into a situation like this, and you begin working with the issue of diversity. And you begin dealing with trying to teach the community and having special programs and doing videos and bringing outside speakers. And it doesn't take very long to learn that actually you do have prejudices. You do live with stereotypes. The whole notion of white privilege had never been so strong in my mind until I began reading and contemplating and comparing my own life and situations with others. I think there isn't one of us in this community who couldn't learn. And we are so proud of being a learning community, that what we do is learn together, so that we do research and teaching, and as we do research and learn, we stand side by side with our students and learn. And if we do our job right, I think we can do more learning about ourselves and about culture and about diversity, because I can't be the only person who had more to learn. And what I now know is that that is a process that will be ongoing in my life. When I took this job on, I might have thought that that was finished, that I was at a good stage. Mm-hmm. And I now know that it's an ongoing process, and that we never cease to learn. And one of the good things about passing on the chairmanship and rotating people on that committee was the sense I had, and I said at the time, that more people need to have this learning experience. Because everyone who comes to that table will learn something if they let themselves. Mm-hmm. So, in terms of giving to the community, I hope that by establishing that committee, that something was given to the community. But it, of course, I suppose is a truism that when you take on something that you care about and you give to it, the best result is that you learn from it and it gives back to you. And I feel in the end that I got more than I gave.
That's really very profound. And it really does answer this question, the next question, which I'm going to ask anyway, because I think what you say about it is so good that I'd like for you to say it again, if it dictates that. But I have this question, how has helping others helped you? And I know that you have helped others, and so, how does, the things that you've done, as a chairperson, as a mentor of a host of people who happen to be women and minorities, how has helping others helped you?
Well, I've spoken about the Committee on Campus Race Relations and, learning very specifically from it, and that's very real. I think in all of our dealings with other people, individuals, with students, with faculty, that when you reach out to them, if you can make a connection, if you can help them somehow, that connections are always two-way. And if you're open, that things will flow back, that it's not a one-way stream. I think that the model actually is the dissertation advisor and student model in some ways. When you're working with a dissertation student and helping that student, and you have a lot to give that student, undoubtedly. You're experienced, you've been in the field, you've published, there's any number of things you can tell to a Ph.D. student coming along to help that student. But when you're standing side by side with a really bright student who's getting a Ph.D. and doing research together, that person is feeding you ideas. At the same time, keeping your critical faculties alert. There's a kind of flinty sparks fly when the two minds are thinking together. And that relationship of mentor and student is one that enables scholars to really stay alive and alert in their research. It's why scholars at major research institutions frequently do better, I think, is because they have these young people coming through who are full of energy, full of excitement, who actually keep the fires burning. And I think that the kinds of relationships we build in our community across racial lines can do exactly the same thing if we let them do that. And if we build on the model of being a learning institution.
I have one final question, and it's an easy one for you. But could you kind of summarize how you feel a non-minority can demonstrate leadership in bridging racial and cultural differences at MIT and in universities and colleges in general?
Well, I think it's absolutely essential for the non-minority to take a leadership role, and that's one of the reasons I took on the role as the head of the Committee on Campus Race Relations. I think, and again, this comes out of my experiences as a woman, there is a sense in which when we say gender studies, we understand women's studies, and that only women are interested in that. There is a sense that there is an internal bias. If I speak out in favor of hiring women, it is seen as a biased view frequently. And if the only people speaking out in favor of minority issues are minorities, it's too easily disregarded by the majority community. And the minority voice who can speak forcefully and clearly on that issue, the white person who can speak forcefully and clearly on that issue, can actually have a bully pulpit that is frequently not accorded to the minority person. I kept saying over and over again on the committee is that, race relations at the Institute is not an issue for the minority community. And so often it was seen that way. So that people would complain about the black students sitting together at lunch. And I kept hearing these complaints. Well, if we want better race relations at MIT, then, look at all these black students sit together at lunch. Well, this made me crazy. because no one ever said the white students were sitting together at lunch, which of course there were many more tables of white students than there were of black students. And this idea that if we have a very small number of black students, that what we should do is take each one of them to integrate a table so that no black student can be sitting with another black student and have any sense of community. The basic underlying assumption was that all of the psychological effort, emotional and psychological effort of improving race relations was to be placed squarely on the shoulders of the minority community. And one gets that all the time without people realizing what they're saying. And you sometimes need someone who is not a member of that group to stand up and say, hold it. Think about what you're saying. And I hoped that, as a white woman, that I could say things that people might hear about white privilege. One aspect of white privilege is being able to sit at a table with white people and not have people complain about it. And it goes right down the line in that regard. So I think race relations cannot be an issue for the minority community only. As long as it's an issue for the minority community only, we will not make any change at the Institute.